Well, g'day, folks. It's me, Greg. We're back. It's Friday. It's been a little while since we caught up last time, but I promise I'll try and do as many as I can before the end of the year. Lunching and learning, like we always are. Um, Today we are going to be talking about data modeling because I'm just becoming more and more obsessed with data modeling. I've already was obsessed with data modeling. Now I'm extra obsessed with data modeling. So we'll talk a little bit about the data model uh, for our finance report. I think there's an improvement we can make. But we've also got a special guest today, and it's Kelly Brookstra from Lobster Pot Solutions. Kelly, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
As I've got a mouthful of lunch. My name's Kelly. I've been working with databases for 20 years now. So I started as a help desk person, moved into being a DBA, and then moved into sort of data warehousing space. So kind of my career's come on that journey where I've learned how to model as I've kind of gone along. And learned how to solve business problems. Now I work with Lobster Pot Solutions. So we are a Melbourne and Adelaide-based consulting company that will basically help you with anything Microsoft data, not just Power BI and reporting. We will help with migrations and performance tuning and other such things. So you can always reach out. The name is quite unique. It's how you find us. And I can talk to that if you want. But yeah, that's basically it. I became a Microsoft MVP this year. And I run the Melbourne Data Platform User Group, which meets on a Tuesday night once every 3 months. So
Oh yeah, let's run
um,
that.
a lot of you are sort of, there it is. I think a lot of people are, Melbourne-based people at least, are involved
Yep.
in multiple groups. So I think some of you might already be there. But yes, we're looking at running a meetup in November.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Welcome. Congratulations on your MVP this year. Nice work. Or nice to have another Melbourne-based MVP after I think Alice moved to WA and we lost one. So
Yes. And
so uh
Darren got recruited by Microsoft.
Darren here's Darren there. I just saw a picture of
There
him.
he
There he
is.
is. Yeah,
Yes.
Darren got recruited by Microsoft. That's Darren right there.
We technically have Greg.
Oh, Greg Lowe. Yeah, yeah.
Hello, sorry.
He's our
Um, he
Dr.
kind of
Greg
moves between Melbourne and
and
St. Kitts.
Queensland. This is Greg
Yeah.
here. Look, everybody's here. Look, there's Rob. There's Darren. Look, you got a full gamut of
Everyone.
people. Sam Fisher's there. There you go.
To people.
Excellent. So yes, check out the Melbourne Data Platform User Group. Now, Kelly, you wrote a blog that I thought was interesting, and it's called "Design a Really Terrific Star Schema by Interpreting an Existing Report." And this is something that I've been talking to people about for a long time. And I'm just like, hey, you know how you create a star schema is you start with a report, and you start with something that you're
Lots of
trying to
things.
figure it out, right? You might sketch it on a piece of paper, and then you need to interpret that and build the star schema from it. So I'm going to put the blog. I'm going to put the blog in the chat for the people just in case they want to check it out. But maybe to start out talking about this, like maybe a bit of context about why you do this. What are the sort of situations you find yourself in where you need to do this type of stuff?
So I get called upon quite often, same as you do, Greg. Called into a business, I'm a consultant. We need a report to analyze this information, or we need a report to understand how well our marketing campaign's going, or we need a report to do this. Lots of different scenarios. We all live with them. Um, People, yes, they do need reports, but what they really need is a data model or a semantic model in fabric language that they can then build that report from, and making that model kind of central so that they can build multiple reports from it. Multiple people can use it. So I'm on a bit of a campaign at the moment to tell people that when they say, I want a report, do you want a report or do you want a semantic model? Do you want a model that you can do lots of things with, or do you want just a one-off report? Um, so
Mm.
that sort of led me on the path of, well, what are the different ways that people request this? I've got a similar blog post that sort of talks about agile stories. So people might come to me with a whole heap of agile cards and stories. How do you translate that into a star schema or a semantic model? People will come to me, and I'm not joking. I've had that napkin example where someone's thought about something over lunch and scribbled it on a napkin and said, I want this report, make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, I have people that'll approach me saying, "We've got a source system, we want to report off it, build the reports." That's my next blog post, which is coming out in the next week or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, the logic behind it is you do want a report, but you also want a semantic model. You want a star schema. And we can talk for hours about why you want a well-designed star schema behind your report for scalability, for usability, for lack of errors, for
Mm.
all of those reasons. But yeah, I sort of wanted to come up with some useful real life tips for those developers out there that get told, here's my napkin, make it a report. What are you actually looking for? What do you need to find, and where do you go to find that information?
Yeah, I think my experience with kind of with Power BI in particular, but I just reporting in general is that if you're good at data modeling, then and you build a good data model, then that is the secret sauce to Power BI. The rest of Power BI is kind of easy comparatively, and people talk about DAX a lot, being like this big, scary, horrible thing that takes a long time to learn. And DAX at its hardest is that it absolutely is like this big, scary, horrible thing, but on a good, solid, well-designed data model that does, or semantic model, I guess we call them these days, that doesn't that has all of the issues that you would use DAX to resolve already resolved within the model, then DAX becomes trivial, right?
Easy. Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I can totally relate to this whole idea um, of instead of talking to people about reports, we talk to people about models. And I'm doing a similar thing where I'm changing the way that I talk to customers about things. And I know you're asking for reports, but actually what you're really asking for is a data model that supports a series of reporting across a whole kind of business process. And so I think this is a really great subject, and I think it's something that you can't really learn too much about. Like this is it. Just the better you are at it, the more superpowers you have. Like it's really one of those things. So yeah, excited to talk about it today. I think it's going to be a good conversation, and I know we've got some stuff we want to do. Um, all right. Well, you've got this piece in the blog that says where to start. So what is your typical kind of starting point? How do you get started? If people want to practice this, what should they be looking for to get themselves going?
First thing I really encourage is conversations. Um, so often you might see a requirement spec, or you might have someone, send you a link to an existing report. Where I really try and push is for people to actually have conversations with the people that plan to use the report. Um, that's the first step I always encourage. Just even getting some context and some basic information. And people don't come to you asking for a report unless they've got a problem or a opportunity that they want solved. So I try and understand that in the first instance, because I could turn around and build a report based exactly off what you drew in your picture, but it's not actually what you want. You can't get to the end if you don't know where the end is. What are they really looking for? Is sort of the first part that I do. Does that make
Is
sense?
there any kind of specific kind of questioning techniques? I had an interesting conversation with somebody the other day who booked me for like a mentoring session, and they were like,
Mhm.
what are the questions you ask at the beginning of an engagement?
Um, Depends on who you're talking to. And I know
Mm.
everyone hates that it depends type
It's
situation.
always the
It's
answer. Yeah.
always the thing, isn't it? But I like to phrase it however I need to phrase it based on that person. But what is the opportunity or the pain point that you're trying to solve for? What are you actually trying to find out is sort of that's the underlying first question. Now, I might not pose it exactly like that. Some people don't like that.
Mm.
Um, the one that came up the other day, which I thought was really quite helpful, is pretty much every system that we use. pretty much every, whether it's a website, whether it's an app, whether it's an enterprise application, it has side effects. So some people call them pain points, some people call them challenges, some people call them, you know, extra things that it does that I didn't know that it did, or that it doesn't do that I didn't know that it didn't do. So what are the side effects of the system that you have at the moment, or the reports that you have at the moment, that you want to address, reduce, remove, enhance? Some side effects are good. So what are you actually trying to solve for here? Is sort of, you know, where I kind of start, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I'm similar. I'm looking for these challenges, right? And so when I
Challenges
start
and
it,
opportunities.
yeah, and honestly, that's just another way of calling it, like they're just two words for the same thing, aren't they? Where it's
Yeah.
like opportunities for improvement or whatever.
Depends on if you're
Um,
talking to a really positive person or a really negative
yeah,
person.
negative, yeah. So I'm trying to understand the process, and because it's so much of it is about what we're really doing in reporting is providing this kind of like capturing telemetry over a business process and then reporting back over that process of how that process is performing in a lot of ways, right? And so that tell me a little bit about your process. That people are normally pretty comfortable with that, and they kind of gets them talking, and then you're asking them, okay, so where do you think the challenges are here? What are your top two or three kind of challenges in this process? Where are the pain points? Where are the opportunities? Those types of questions are really great to kind of get people talking about this initial piece.
Most definitely. And I try and encourage, especially if they're end users, like business type customers,
Hmm.
not necessarily, you know, BI developers. Talk to me in the language that you use within the business. Um,
Yeah.
don't explain your problem as our users log on to the website and they enter their details and they fill in this form, and I want to analyze the information that comes through on the form. I want them to talk. I want the end users to tell me, our users log onto the website and they provide us information about the experience they had at a, you know, particular event, for example, or, you know,
Mm.
whatever the business context is. I
Yeah.
want to hear about their challenges as a business problem, not as a technical problem. Because if it's a technical problem, they've kind of gone into solution mode, and that's not a good place for your business users to go. That's what you're for. But get
Mm.
them to talk to you in their business language.
Yeah, I think that that idea that you should spend as much time as possible in that problem space is so important, particularly for as reporting gets more complex and as people are sort of as you're trying to solve difficult issues, the more you understand about the problem, the more likely it is that your solution in the end is going to actually meet all of the kind of nuances of that problem. And I think that's something that I see a lot of people make mistakes in, is that they very quickly jump to an assumption that their solution is going to work, and they start going down that path, and then they realize there's all this extra complexity around the thing they're trying to solve.
Definitely. Yeah. So yeah, I get them to explain their processes, explain what they're trying to achieve, what their challenges are. Um, and then, yeah, like I said, look into what opportunity, how we can enhance the process they already have, how we can report on that to help them understand it more, or track a change, or plan a future change. So what are you actually trying to achieve out of the report? Very few users get much out of a, a report that just looks at the past. We want to start to understand what they want to do with the data
Yeah.
that we're going to report on. You know, we can give them a great snapshot of what the world looked like a week ago, but is that going to change your behavior? Is that going to change how they run a particular system? Is that going to change the item that they put on sale next week? Is that going to move people out of the mailing list because there's no point marketing to them anymore? Like, what is the action that you're actually looking to take from this? And sometimes they don't know, but at least I like to understand that they don't know.
Mm. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Is like when you start talking to them in that context of saying, well, what is the action we're going to take out? And even if you look at a sample report, And you know, like we'll bring up some sample reports soon, and we can this is a little question we can ask ourselves, is that so often it's not clear what action you should take. If you put yourself in the shoes of the person who's reading the report, so often it's not clear what action you should take as a result of looking at all of these numbers, right? And people just, you know, shotgun a bunch of visuals onto a page, but what does that really mean? And then what are the where's the signal in that, you know?
It's explained really well to me a few years ago when I was doing some business management. There's lead indicators and lag indicators. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about things like KPIs, a lag indicator tells you about what's happened what's happened, and it's something that you can't necessarily change. So it might be the number of hours that you've logged to a particular campaign. You've already done those hours. You can't go back and change where you spent that time. That's a lag indicator. It's not necessarily going to tell you how well the campaign's going to work out. It's just telling you what happened. A lead indicator is something that you're able to affect. So you might turn around and say, well, I spent 20 hours on this campaign last week, got me nowhere. Maybe this week I should double that, or maybe I should drop it completely and try something else. So a lead indicator is more around things that you can do and change that will actually make a difference. So trying to understand as well from the users, are they just trying to report on things that have happened, or are they trying to find some lead indicators that will help them change their behavior?
Mm, yeah. And I noticed in the fabric in the fabric, the DP600, the fabric certification, there's a lot of talk about the different types of analysis that you do. And obviously, Microsoft's got some content. We should look it up. Actually, I might find it around the different. Sorry, what was it?
I always struggle to find it. I always go, I need to
Yeah,
refer to that. And then I'm like, what do we call it
yeah.
again?
What is that? What is that? It's like the
What's it?
types of
Types of
analytics or something.
analysis. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can find it real quick.
I was going to say
All right.
Shelley will find it. She's great at that stuff.
Shelley, yeah, Shelley will find it. Yeah, yeah, she's a wizard. Types of analysis, Shelley, in fabric. Oh, there must be something. Uh, or
Understanding data analysis, a beginner's guide.
types of analytics. Hang on. Oh, yeah, it could be. Hang on. Hang on. Key concepts.
So we're talking about your descriptive, your diagnostic.
That's the one. You got it.
That's
You're
the
right.
one.
That's it. It's exactly what we're talking about.
Told you she'd be on it.
Yeah, yeah. She'll find it. She'll find it. We'll check it out. All right. I want to skip forward a little bit because there is a whole bunch of activity here that we do in design, right? Yeah. So we talk to people and then we do a design of some kind. And this is kind of where we start to then get into this the topic of today, right? Is because so some design stuff happens. Eventually what we end up with is something on a piece of paper. Now that might come from the users. It might be like you say, a sketch on a napkin. You say, okay, this is what my sales report looks like. I want a pie chart that has a thing over here that has this cool thing. I want a table of stuff. And I want these charts here, you know, showing me extra cool stuff. And this is kind of the starting point for where your blog kind of starts talking about, okay, we want to infer a data model from this design.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe while we do that, let's bring up some. Is this it? Was that actually the right link, Shelley? The one with the descriptive and the prescriptive that you put in? Let me see. What is? Oh, here it is. Yep. There you go. Descriptive analytics refers to the process of analyzing historical data. Diagnostic analytics helps answer questions about what caused certain events. Little tip: I reckon I got 3 questions about this in the in the DP600 exam. I don't know why I got 3 questions about it. I was like, they're really focusing on this for some reason. I must have got all 3 out of the random set of 150 or 200 questions or whatever. But yeah, I literally had to answer 3 questions that involved this. So it's real. You need to know it. And I always get confused between predictive and prescriptive and cognitive. I know descriptive and diagnostic are relatively straightforward, but yeah, anyway. There you go. That's the different types of analysis. Okay. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon we just, I'm just going to bring up a random sample report. I'm literally just going to Google
reports. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about preparing something and I'm like,
And we'll just Google it. Yeah,
We'll just
okay,
go.
cool. That's what it's
What I like about
that.
this user
Well,
group.
that's what Lunch and Learn's all about, Kelly. Is that we wing it.
That's
We wing
awesome.
it. All right, here I am in Google.
Great, great.
I'm interested in on project reporting right now because I want to build a project model. So let's do project Power BI reporting. I'm going to choose all of them, and then we're going to pick the best ones. Images. Ah, beautiful. All right. So, okay, I'm going to open a few of these. Some interesting, complex-looking ones. This one looks nice. This one looks nice. And you'll
The
find that they
complex
all.
ones can be easier. Sometimes it's the simple ones that are tougher.
I know it's just one really hard metric. Here's a nice one here. Okay, we've got a few examples. Okay, this is from some people at Brightwork, apparently. They have a embedded Power BI into a Power App. That is impressive.
That's nice.
Okay.
Sorry.
I guess they're doing something with it. I don't know, yeah,
Sorry, the
interesting.
first question I always ask is why.
Is why?
Ask the business users why.
Yeah. Why is this report
Why?
like this?
Why?
Okay, I'm not going to lead the witness here because I already see things, but I'm sure you do too. What? Okay, if someone gives you a napkin and it's got this thing on it, what are you doing first?
A very detailed napkin.
Yeah.
It's all good. So basically, probably one of the first tips is don't get overwhelmed by it, because if you look at something like this, there's what, 10, 15 data elements. It can feel quite daunting when you sort of first pull it apart. So I tend to concentrate on one thing at a time. And in this
Yep.
particular example, in a lot of examples, the table is actually probably a better starting point. Looking at especially cards, there's so little in them. And that's why I said before, sometimes the more complicated reports are easier. The ones
Yep.
that just have assignments, yeah, I got nothing. That you count things. Wow, yay,
Yeah.
awesome. It's a model.
Yep.
Whereas this is the section that's actually going to give me more information. So this is obviously project management. We have the concept of a project. A project is a thing, so it is a dimension. So anything that's a thing, whether that's a person, whether that's a object, whether that's a way of grouping things, whether that's a date, I'll start to write down on my whiteboard that my dimensions are project. So that's sort of where I'll go first. That's obviously quite a major dimension as part of this.
Yep, I see it appears here as well, and
See
here.
it in a lot of different places. And that's when I'll now start to confuse myself a little bit. But if you look at the table, a project has a description, which is again why I think of it as a dimension, because that's a project description. And it looks like, there's either tasks that are associated with it, but by looking at that a project is something that you can describe, but it also looks like it's the thing that's kind of the process that's driving this whole report. So by the fact that you've got a project, you're counting projects, makes your brain sort of go, well, it's a dimension, but it could also be a fact. So I kind of put it in the, let's just see, because executing a project is a process and facts are processes. So it could be that it's both. So you'll often have, you can often have a star schema that will have the counts of something as the fact, but then you've got something that describes them that's almost, like it's a one-to-one relationship. So it could end up still being both. But let's just go with looking at the table. Project is something you can describe, so therefore I'm thinking it's definitely going to have some form of dimensionality to it. So whether you want to start drawing a star schema, or I normally just go, I don't know, project in the top.
I just write project like this. I assume it's going to be something. It's going to be something. I put a box around it.
Yep.
And then I get ready to join it to things.
Things, and all that sorts of stuff. So
all right.
That's the first bit. And then I'll go back to the report. And I'll look back at my little table at the bottom, the matrix at the bottom, and go, well, title, very difficult to derive what it is without having some context because everything has a title. But by looking at it, you've got things like action 1, initiate 2, new task, new risk, Dan. Lucky Dan.
New risk, Dan. Yeah.
New risk, Dan. It looks like it's the title of a task.
It's interesting here as well as there's a little clue over here as well.
Types, yes.
Under type. Yeah.
So we have project tasks, we have actions, which is still something that a type of task in some respects. So it could be there's a hierarchy. So a project has items, whether we want to call them tasks, actions, project deliverables, risk mitigation actions. I assume that's what the A stands for. So we've definitely got something, and it's hard to tell with this, but it looks like the top 3 are all from the same project. I'm assuming that project me upgrade delivery isn't 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to assume that there's a methodology there that says tasks, whatever we want to call these things. We don't have a name specified as part of the report. There's a hierarchy there under project. So I'll go back to my drawing and I'll go, okay, I need to pick a word for what I'm going to call these at the moment. Let's make it task.
We'll make it task for now.
We'll make it task. Now we can see in there that there was things about the task that described it. There was types, there was titles. So again, brain is going to dimension, but not sure yet whether it's a snowflake type thing where it's a sub-dimension of project.
Yeah, is it connected like this, or are they connected like down here? Yeah.
Or whether there's a fact in the middle that connects them. So that's why writing this on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, or like what Greg's doing here, where you have an eraser function, is highly recommended.
Also a lasso function, so you can move things around.
Always helpful. Yes.
Yeah.
I actually cheat. I have an electronic notebook that I have a pen for,
and then awesome.
I can actually write on it, and then I can send it over to my laptop and include it in documents and all that sort of stuff. It's
the way to go. It's the way to go.
It just doesn't work any other way. You spend too much time. Post-it notes are another really good one, Shelley. You're right. The amount of designs I've done over a table or a window with a whole heap of Post-it notes. It's harder with Post-it notes to draw lines between them, unless you're sticking them onto a whiteboard or something. Most of my clients don't like it when I draw on the desk. Doesn't really work. All right.
Matt has just mentioned, I've seen Matt's Remarkable, and he does use it all the time because I go and see him, and he's got so that's that and they are awesome. So if you can, if you're doing a lot of this kind of stuff, then something like a Remarkable electronic pad is really awesome.
Yeah, it's just you use your laptop screen. It's never as responsive. It's never.
I've got a Surface, and I've got the pen, and I like the Surface Pro, and I do that. It's pretty good, but it's not as good as the Remarkable. Yeah,
it's not quite as good. Yeah, so I've got the cheap version of the Remarkable. So it does the job. It's just not big enough. All right, what else have we got? We've got assignees. So we have people who are associated with these tasks. So I would chuck them in as a separate dimension. So I would definitely chuck something in my design.
Do you just guess that they're employees and you call it employee, or do you have something else? Do you have people? Would you say people here?
I tend to stick at the start as much as possible with the words that are on the report. So I might actually
say
assignee. But as we saw in the example with task, I assumed task because title is useless. When it comes to this part of the process, but I'm very, very conscious of trying to use the business users' language, but also trying to come up with something that fits everybody. And fits the whole thing. Like, task might not work because we've got things in here that are actions, and actions aren't always tasks, and deliverables aren't tasks. But failing the business telling me what to call them, I'll stick with what I've got. Where I've got a word in a report like assignee, I'll stick to that until I'm told otherwise. that makes
Yeah.
sense.
You know where you run into problems with that is where the risk team come into your meeting and you say, "Oh, here's the data model," and I put tasks, and they're like, "They're not actually tasks; they're
Lots of
risk
tasks.
mitigation action items." And you're like, "Okay, all right,
Correct.
relax."
Correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I do get that quite frequently, and
Yeah, people are
even
funny
down
about their
to
terminologies, right? Their glossary of terms. Yeah,
some departments will call it a customer, and a different department within the same organization will call it a client.
yeah.
Um, I tend to stay away from the word user, just because some places don't like having users.
I can
They'd
tell you
rather,
that working in healthcare, they don't like the word patient very much in some
right?
organizations. They prefer partner or member or anything but
Yes,
patient. Yeah.
anything but patient. Yeah, like I said,
Mm.
user. Unfortunately, I have worked with drug rehabilitation, so user is not the right word. Um,
No.
and that's sort of been ingrained in me that, people aren't users. They might use your system, but what else?
Mm.
What actually are they? Everybody
Mm.
uses a system, but are they a client? Are they a customer? Are they a
Mm.
project member? Those
Yeah.
those sorts of things. So I try and be more specific than user. Everybody uses something, um, but less specific than assignee. It might be people who work on projects, but yeah, you kind of work through that as you have the conversations.
Yep.
So the next thing in this chart, in this matrix, is things like type and status. So we can do them as separate dimensions. So sort of traditional kind of star schema, um, you might have a dimension that literally just has 4 records, and it's the 4 different types, or it might be the 4 different statuses. Um,
Yep.
I, in the interest of simplifying my model, I tend to move away from having individual dimensions for a lot of this stuff, because in Power
Mm.
BI you end up with a list so long down the side of all the fields that you can choose from, and you don't necessarily know where to go. And if you've only got one attribute, so if your status is, not started, in progress, blocked, done, do you need a whole table just to store 4 values? Or because of the VertiPack compression, you can put those values in your fact, and they're going to compress to 4 records. You don't get a
Yep.
cost in terms of the size of the data model.
Yep.
Um, and your usability from your user is better if they become attributes on your facts rather than a
Then
dimension all
broken
to
out dimensions.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So
Um,
if you have a low cardinality sort of status or a low cardinality attribute, which is this kind of thing where there's only a few and there's only a few, then your preference is to leave that in the fact table because you know you're going to take a little hit on compression, but it's not going to be that bad because it's low cardinality and you don't care anyway.
and
Okay.
you're not talking about models that are hundreds of terabytes big. And like I
Mm.
said, when Kimball brought out the first sort of books around star schemas, we were still using relational data models to model this stuff, but we were, the data model behind the scenes. So you were incurring a cost for every single time that you had that value. Whereas now with the VertiPack compression, you're not.
Mm.
So again, kind of depends, but yeah, I tend to only break them out if I have a really compelling reason to.
Yeah. Do you have
Um,
any just a quick aside, do you have any opinion on Inmon versus Kimball, and is there ever a reason why Power BI people should care about Inmon? Like third normal form and all that stuff?
to be honest, I come from a very Kimball school.
Mm.
That's sort of more what I learnt than anything else. The Inmon stuff, as much as I appreciate it, I feel that it hasn't aged with the technology that we have available to us, as well as a lot of the Kimball stuff. Some people will argue the Kimball stuff hasn't aged as well, but I find that the Inmon stuff, based on things like, the VertiPack compression, based on the fact that we've got cubes and we've got multidimensional and we can do those automated aggregates, it was good for a time.
Yeah.
But I tend to prefer, I tend to think more in Kimble think. Like I like you, I have a book um, that gets referred to frequently because the website's just not as good as the book.
No, the
Um,
book's the way to go. Yeah.
the book is the way to go, I'm sorry. And it doesn't have an electronic version that I'm aware of. So
No, there
I am,
isn't. There isn't. I have a PDF version that I will not share with anyone else because
no,
you go and buy it, people. Go and buy it.
yes, you have to spend money on it.
Yeah.
Um, And I think I've tried to, a few people have asked to borrow, and I'm like, no, you don't get to
No,
borrow
yeah,
because
you go and buy
I
it.
need it
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
I
everybody needs it.
absolutely need
Yeah.
it back. And I find that
Uh,
you borrow and then you ghost me. So no. Um,
yeah.
I tend to, and you've noticed as well, I have like sticky notes in the side, like where
Oh
certain
yeah. You've
sections.
got a full thing. I'm just going to quickly bring up the book so people know what the cover looks
Yeah,
like if they're
sure.
looking for it. This is the book, people. This is the book. Is third edition still current? I don't know. It might be
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because they pretty much went, we've taught you everything we need to do. We're not going to improve on it.
There's no yeah. It's already
There isn't.
perfect or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is the book, the Data Warehouse Toolkit. Kimball and Ross. Yeah, great book. Fantastic for learning how to data model. Also has actually one of the most useful things about this. I'm just gonna quickly get an aside about this book, but is these it's got all the dimensional modeling thing, but then it's got samples. This is the thing that's really
Yeah.
good. Like if you're in retail, this is so useful because you're like, oh, okay, this goes through like a full case study of how to do retail data modeling, and it covers probably 90% of the things you're ever going to see in retail. It's so good. Anyway, so definitely get the book, everyone. That's all
So
I'll
leave it
say.
open. Leave it
Oh,
open
okay. Hang
because
on
we'll
over there. Okay.
refer back to it
All right.
shortly.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. I'll leave it over here. Yeah.
So actually we'll refer back to it. So basically what we're trying to do here is basically draw a box for a lot of the items that we see on the report itself. Whether we decide their dimensions or facts early on, they kind of just become blobs initially.
Yep.
And then so we'll go back to the report, we'll have a look for any other attributes that we know that we're going to need.
Yep.
So obviously due date, we're going to need a date dimension of some
Yep. I'll throw
description.
that in. Yep.
Find me a model that doesn't have a date.
Yeah. Pretty common. Pretty common.
Very common.
One gotcha here that people often get caught up in is that if this is a date time, which it often is,
Split them.
it's two dimensions. It's date and time. Otherwise, you just end up in a world of hurt. So there's no such thing as a date time dimension as far as I'm concerned. So there you go.
It did get confusing because in the old multi-dimensional, so analysis services multi-dimensional, when you used to create a cube, there was a wizard to create a automatic date dimension, or what we now refer to as a date dimension, and the automatic wizard would come out and call it time.
Oh,
so it was a record
very
for
confusing.
every day, but it would be called time. And that really confused people for quite a while. Now, fortunately, I don't know a lot of people that they're building, multi-dimensional data models and analysis services from scratch with a wizard.
No one's doing a lot of MDX these days.
Doesn't tend to apply, but you do occasionally go into places that have legacy cubes, and you'll be looking for date, and it'll actually be called time.
Yeah, right.
It's it is only days, doesn't have date time, but it was called time. So that's always a nice confusing one. All right. So moving on from the matrix, we can then look at a lot of the other visuals. So you've got things like assignment type, assignment status.
I clicked on it. Oops.
That's all right.
Oh no. Oh, there it is.
You can just go back. You can use the things that are filters. So we obviously need a dimension in there that's portfolio, a dimension in there that includes program. Basically, if it's a filter, it needs to be somewhere.
It's a dimension somewhere.
Dimension.
Right.
So I'll basically go through the report and almost print it out and tick off the things as I include them. I try and group them So where we saw before
Mm.
type and status, if I was making that assumption where I'm going to put them on the main fact, what I'll actually start doing in my drawing is writing underneath the boxes what some of the attributes are, like what some of the critical attributes are. So I might have, as part of a project, one of the critical attributes might be status. So I'll write status under, like, it's just an attribute underneath project, just so
Yep.
that I'm capturing the critical attributes. Now, there may be other attributes that I'm going to need that I can't get from just looking at the report or that make logical sense. I mean, assignee, going to need a name. I might not see that in the report, but it's something that I can logically assume. So I start trying to ensure that all of the words that I see on my report are included in my model somewhere, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Okay, we've got project, portfolio, program, project, template. I didn't get template. Let me just put template
So
somewhere.
project template could be part of the project. So I'd chuck it as an
Yeah, I'm going to pop it up here because I think
yeah,
it's going to be an
a
attribute of
separate.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we'll just throw it in under the project here.
but there's no sort of common methodology. Like, you draw a star schema, you draw the objects, you draw the dimensions and the facts. There's no standard notation for how to list out the attributes. It's just I tend to draw them underneath. Some people might have other ways. It's it's a whiteboard. Do whatever you want, as long as you know what it means.
So,
Yep.
so I've noticed something interesting here in this particular report. I noticed this and I noticed this. And so I haven't seen assignment anywhere else, right? And I'm like, oh, is that what they refer to one of these lines as, an assignment?
Assignment. So keep going.
So what I'm thinking is, if you see what, sometimes the report itself will give you the glossary of terms for how they refer to these things. So this is obviously, that's an assignment type, which is task or blah 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 action, which is this one. And on this, it's just called type. And on a status, it's just called status, which means that these are assignments, and that's the assignee makes sense as well, right? So that's what I'm thinking from looking at that. I think this is a table of assignments.
And that's where I was going to get to. So we've got a lovely star schema drawing at the moment with nothing in the middle. So what is the business process that this report is actually talking about? And I think you're 100% right. I think it is the project assignments. I think that is, in essence, what we're trying to report on here is when a project is assigned to someone, or who it's currently assigned to, that is a process. That is something that actually happens. It is an action. You can have a project that doesn't have an assignee. The assignment hasn't happened. So you're looking for something in the report that is the action, that is the business process, or the something that occurred. So I think you're 100% correct in this one. I think the fact table in the middle for this particular star schema is assignments. And then that makes sense, because that's how you link things like project and program, because they're linked through an assignment. They're assigned on a particular date. They're assigned to an assignee. That's whether the task is actually the name of the assignment. Because remember, it wasn't task, it was title.
It was, yeah.
Whether
So
we
I
don't
think,
need task,
I don't think we need task. So let's get rid of task. So I
the
feel like
title of the assignment is what we were referring to as the task.
Yeah, so we're going to put title down here as one of our attributes of assignment. When I see this kind of thing as well, it makes me double check. This can be a point of confusion. So we've got this of the idea of the project status, but then also the assignment status. And I wonder if they're the same thing or two different things. We'll have a look at the report.
And they could be both. They could be, you could have one for one and one for the other. Yeah.
Because this says project status and then this just says status, I suspect that they're different. Yeah. Yeah. So they're two different things.
And this is another example where you're only going to get so much out of looking at the report. You need to be talking to someone who uses this report and saying, are there two different statuses, or is it always considered the same status? In your language, is that project status that you're seeing in the table, or is that the assignment status? So asking those questions in that business language to a business person, it might be after you've gone and had a look at the report itself, but don't just look at the report and expect to create a flawless data model.
Yeah, absolutely. People, the context is king, right? And this will help you understand, because it'll also help you understand things like the relationship between program, portfolio, and project, right? The correct data model actually might be there's program at the top, then that cascades down to portfolio,
Exactly.
and then that cascades down to project or something like that, right? We don't know without digging into it. I think what this shows you though is that if you built this data model, you could recreate this report. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to. You've got issues haven't been captured. We haven't captured issues.
Yes. Yep. And that's why sometimes I like to print it, tick which ones, like
Yeah, that's
cross them
right. So
off,
you're
do
going
something.
through,
Make sure you don't
and
miss
going,
any.
okay, we've got this one. Actually, I can probably just do this. We've got that one.
Yep.
We've got assignments. We know assignments.
Tasks
Tasks.
are a type of
That's
assignment.
a type of assignment, so I can do that. That's good. Assignment status by is that's done. So I've got that one done. This is assignment by project. I've got that one done. We've got all of these captured. We've got assignment by type that can be done. And then this table can be done. So we've got that sorted, but we don't have this one.
Now, something to remember or something to consider is a proper data model isn't a single star schema. It can have multiple fact tables.
Yep.
There was a lot of thinking quite a few years ago that a data model, especially a Power BI data model, when a lot of people were starting out, was that it can only have one fact table. That is definitely not correct. That
Definitely
is
not
the way that this is intended to work. Issues might be a different fact table. It might be that you have projects that are assigned to people, but projects also have issues and bugs and other things. And issues is actually a different fact. That doesn't mean that it's not part of the same data model. It links to the same dimension or some of the same dimensions. It doesn't have to be all of them. And I'll do this, what Greg's doing now, but I will also, because this can get very confusing very quickly, I will at this point start to draw a bus matrix. So if you go back to the Kimball book and show people what we mean by a bus matrix.
Sure. Boom. Here we are in Kimball world. Let's find a bus matrix. I think I saw one.
Go to any
Hopefully
of
I
the
can find one.
examples. Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
there'll be one
go.
in every
Enterprise.
example.
Yeah. Oh, that was just telling you
Put
should
to
make a
the
bus matrix.
detailed version of the index.
Yeah. Okay, declare the grain. There'll be a bus matrix any second. Yeah, oh, no, close. No.
Looking for X's.
Yeah. Come on, bus matrix. I know you're here somewhere. Okay, I'm going to do a Control F.
So go find one of the examples. Go to retail again or something like that.
Retailers bus matrix. Insurance bus matrix.
That'll
do. Go to page 425. Hey, there it is.
So the idea with the bus matrix is you list all your fact tables or your facts down the rows. So policy transactions, premium snapshot, claims transactions, these would be fact tables. And then you list all of your dimensions across the top. And then you basically tick them, X them, however you want to do the notation. So policy transactions has a date. Policy transactions has a policyholder, but it doesn't have a claim or a claimant or a third-party payee. Claim transactions has everything. And then you can use that further documentation where they've done month and agent to sort of say, okay, Premium Snapshot has a person, it's an employee, but it's specifically called agent in that particular example. So you might say in our example from our report that assignments is one fact, issues is a second fact, and issues doesn't have a PM per se, or you might say that issues, there might be an issue type dimension or an issue resolution dimension that assignments just don't have. So you can sort of start to specify which facts relate to which dimensions, because if you were to draw a line between issue and and all the dimensions, your model's going to get very confusing very quickly.
So you do.
This is where I cheat. I know I say use a whiteboard, but if I'm on the
Oh,
computer,
yeah, I wouldn't be. Yeah, I'd be doing
I
this
still
not on a
Excel
whiteboard.
this one.
Yeah, you got to go to Excel for this. This is
Yeah.
really bad. Me trying to, because you have to write these vertically, right? Portfolio.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to, but it saves a lot of space if you go.
Anyway, you get that,
Some
and then
tools
so we're going. Okay, they've got a program, they've got a portfolio, it's got a date. Issue's got a program and a portfolio and a date and a PM or whatever. And so
you might
you do.
say that assignment has a assignment date and issue has a reported date.
As
So
an
you
issue
might,
date, yeah.
it might have different words for the same, for a relationship to the same dimension. So yeah, you can sort of start to draw it out that way. If your two fact tables with all the dimensions starts getting, if you were to draw a line there to all of them, it's going to get confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like you can't cross the streams, right? So you can't be going like that. Oh, that's bad. So
Well, you can, but you're just going to get lost.
Yeah, no.
Fortunately, Power BI has in the model view, in the relationship view, has the ability to do this, the subviews. So I tend to, when I get models that start to look like this, once I start building them in Power BI, I start to create those views within the relationships, the model tab, so that I can see things without them crossing over other things. So I find that quite helpful, but not in the design process, obviously, because I'm nowhere near there yet. But yeah. So probably the last step that I do now that we've kind of gone through the report and done great big red X's on everything is I again go back to the Kimball book and go, is there an example in there for project management?
Good question. I actually don't know. Is there an example in project management? Let's find out. How do I find things quickly here? Project.
It's the one thing I'll say about this book. It's
project planning and management.
Okay.
This is the project planning and management of your BI life cycle. So that's not necessarily it. So I'm looking at.
One of the few that it doesn't.
I don't think it does from memory. I can't. It's got a few things, but it definitely does. I don't think it has a. Okay, so there's insurance, commerce, healthcare, education, transport, telecommunications, human resources, financial services, customer relationship management, accounting, order management, procurement, inventory, and retail. No, it doesn't have any project, but one of these might be like project related, but yeah, it doesn't have project. So we got to build the ultimate project management model and then create a bus matrix and a Kimball sample for it so that everybody can reference it. Hey.
And look, even if Kimball hasn't done it, I'm sure it's been done somewhere.
Absolutely.
Potentially Google. But yeah, this is where I sort of then just to confirm, is there something that I'm missing that would be significant? I will refer to that example in the Kimball book, and I'll Google show me a project management star schema or a project management dimensional model or semantic model.
Absolutely.
Try different combinations. Ask ChatGPT because why not?
My favorite. Yep.
Your favorite, but yeah, you're basically looking for examples of that project management model, and so many different terms that we use, but just to validate, just to go, oh wait, hang on, they've done this slightly differently. Do I need to consider that? Just to have in the back of my mind. It doesn't mean I have to build it, but it is nice to at least have thought of it. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you tend to do after you've got this kind of I call this a conceptual model,
Yep.
right? Which is the model we think it's going to be based on everything we know from what they've asked, right?
Yep.
Do you go so far as to like generate a bunch of dummy data and model this up and build a prototype, or are you happy from here to start then digging into the data engineering side and looking at source data?
Complexity of the project, the complexity of the data sources is sort of what drives me next. So I don't see the point in dummy data if it's not going to take me long to jump into the system and get real data.
Yeah.
And dummy data so often, it might be dummy data, but you can't replicate some of the nuances in the real data. So what value does it actually bring? If you're trying to do a proof of concept for a customer and you've got a limited time or a limited budget, I might try and, use dummy data and pull something together quite quickly.
Yeah.
But someone once told me that a proof of concept's only as good as the first 2 weeks that you're using it. After that, you've either got to throw it out and start again, or you change it so much it's not funny. So as much as a consultant, I know they tend to get us over the line quite a lot. I'm not a huge fan. So perfect world, I'd go straight into engineering. I would start looking at their source systems, trying to work out whether there's complex ETL to get these items into my data model in the format that I want them from this conceptual model. Whether I need to do a lot of work, like is project a table in the source system and I just need to copy that over, or do I need to do some complex transformations to get that information? Is assignments in the grain that I assumed that I needed at? It might be for this data model, I need a grain in assignments for every single time a project is assigned to someone. A project might be assigned to multiple people. It might go from one person to another person to another person. So my grain for assignments is obviously bigger than just one per project. But it might be in your source system that it only has one assignment per project because it forgets
the current
about
assignment or whatever.
ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And things like that. So I like to then start looking at each of these as an item in itself, and I tend to start with the facts and go, how am I going to get that out of my source system? Is it a simple API call to an app and it's literally a one-to-one and I've just got to filter the things that I want? Or I've got to add some manual calculations to get some of the attributes that I want? Or is it considerably more complicated? That's sort of where I go next.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and I tend to follow a similar kind of pattern. I am a big fan of trying to model to build a prototype if I can. The reason why is I like to give people something they can play with and provide feedback on in terms of the interaction side in Power BI. Like it's going to drill through and show you this. Are you happy with that? That kind of thing. But yeah, other than that, I'm probably doing exactly the same kind of stuff.
Depends on the audience. I actually had someone, I'm not going to be able to find the article quickly. I might be able to find it in the next 20 minutes. But a common thought a while ago is going back to sort of the proof of concept logic. If you give someone a polished, shiny looking report, but it has dummy data, sometimes that can lead you into trouble later on because the user sees these charts and these things you can click on and interact with, and they see all this great stuff. They don't understand the complexity of the data and the ETL behind the scenes, and how you get that information. They just see shiny, so they think that 90% of the work is done, And it's very difficult to change that expectation that actually, no, that's only 10% of the work, because
Yeah, absolutely.
people see what they want to see. And if they want to see the shiny, interactive charts do exactly what I want, they think you're nearly there. They don't necessarily understand that the complexity is in the getting the data. And if you show them the shiny without the data, they never get their head around, why isn't it ready tomorrow? If you start with a scribble on a whiteboard, or like what you've got here, and you say, okay, this is what we're trying to achieve, we're going to create some visuals, they're going to interact, you almost buy yourself some time to go and do the data prep and the engineering. And then you show them the shiny when you're a fair bit more through it, and then they get excited and they get happy.
Drip feed the shiny.
Yeah, and then they're excited, and then you've only got a week's more work to do. You still get feedback at different points in the process. You don't wait till the very end to show them. You might still engage with them, but if you engage with them too early, you can sometimes
set
it can sometimes make it a lot
unreasonable
harder for you.
expectations.
Yeah. So I try, and depends on the people as well. Depends on who the clients are. Some people get it, some people don't. Some people get it at different magnitudes. So I tend to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll definitely take that into consideration. I think it's a bit of a case-by-case thing, though, isn't it? Like different customers are different.
Which is, again, why I tend to avoid dummy data, because I just never see that working well when I keep this in mind. Yes, reports are icebergs. Most of it is under the water, but people don't see that.
No, they
People
don't.
get that.
If only they understood.
And if you show them the tip of the iceberg first, you don't have a lot of time to prepare everything else.
Hey, there was a question from Shelley that we skipped over a little bit, so I just want to make sure we've answered them. Shelley says, so does that mean one star scheme as fact could be another scheme as dimension?
Not preferably. Not ideal. One rule that is still, I think should be stressed more often. Never create a relationship from a fact to a fact. Always go through a dimension. I know that doesn't quite answer the question of, can a fact be a fact and an event and something else's dimension? But I tend to find the more time I can spend in design and the more simple I can make this model whilst it's on a whiteboard and I can erase things, the easier the report will be to develop, the easier the DAX will be to develop later, and the more usable the report is. So if I have to spend 50% of my time and budget on a whiteboard, building something that meets all the requirements, that has, if a user can come to me and say, I want to be able to report on my issues by a signee, and I can't find a link between those two items, my model's not ready. But if I spend time making that model ready, it's so much easier to rub it out on a whiteboard than it is to unbuild it in Power BI.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I spend as much time here as I can, within reason, of course, within the expectations of the people requesting the report. And if I can avoid, I'll do what I can to try and avoid those things.
I think every minute you spend here is an hour saved in report world, in DAX and
that's a good one. I like that one.
headaches. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree completely. Shelley also said that she thinks that in the bus matrix, the dimensions should be on the rows and the facts should be on the on the columns for readability. But I don't know. That's not how Kimball did it, Shelley.
As long as you're clear, I find.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter. Yeah,
doesn't matter. A lot of people I talk to don't know what I mean when I say bus matrix. So you can make up whatever you want, but make it clear. I think because I tend to not write, like I might not just write assignment, I'll actually write a project is assigned to a person. Like I'll actually write what the process is, not just the name of the fact table. So I think that's why the facts have generally been on the rows, because you can expand them to a bit more of a description traditionally. But yeah, Depends on
fair
who's using your bus matrix is for designing as well. So more than anything,
I think it's a personal preference thing. Mostly it's going to be you, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Interesting comment here from Leon. Working on data internally, I've produced too many proof of concept models that never been able to go back and set up correctly. Balancing resource requirements for doing it right the first time versus providing something useful quickly is one of the hardest pain points I've encountered. And I think this is where this becomes almost like part art, part science, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. What do you think about that, Kelly?
totally agree, 100%. Proof of concepts so often just get thrown away because they just can't be turned into something more solid. Um, I tend to try and think, and it's like you said, half art, half science. The Pareto principle, the logic that 20% of your effort can deliver 80% of your benefit. So I might turn around in this particular example, if we go back to that report, all but one visual was based on assignments. So in this example, I would turn around and say, we're not doing issues. We're just throwing them away. You're going to have blank spot on the report for the first couple of weeks. We're just going to get assignments right. It is too small a section on this report to worry me right now. I'm going to concentrate on, in this case, the 95%, which is achieved with 50% of the effort. So I'm sorry, issues, next phase. Just that one number can just wait. Because so much more of this report is coming from assignments. And then, it's about setting the expectations with the people and saying, look, do you have a high priority? One priority? Can't have multiple one priorities. What is the highest priority that you want me to get out right now? Do you need the assignment status pie graph or do you need the table? And try and work out what's that highest priority. And if they need the table, forget about all the other stuff and just build a model that has the 6 attributes that's included in that table and use that as your proof of concept, knowing now that you've got a drawing of a conceptual model and that you can expand on it and that everything fits, but only build that the 6 attributes that you need for that one section. That's your proof of concept. Can you bring in the data? Does it work? Can you see it? And then worry about adding all the other stuff later.
Yeah. I say to customers, just put a box around what your highest priority is, and they do this. We went that, and you're like, damn it. You have to ask that question again. Okay, we've got another quick question, and then we're way over time. So thanks, Kelly. I appreciate it. I know you've got another meeting soon. Just a question: what would be the optimum way to connect 2 star schemas within one report?
Through a dimension.
Yeah.
Through your dimensions. So your project will have issues and assignments. Your assignees will have issues and assignments. Your date will have assignments and issues. Join them up through dimensions. Like I said, Power BI does actually have, I can't show you because I don't have a model open that would be, I could share with you really quickly. Power BI actually has a really good way to view just one fact table at a time without removing all the other relationships. So have you got something open in Power BI?
Yeah, let me see if I can
I have something, but I it's a client report, I can't show you.
Yeah, no. This is a sample report, and it's got a decent model.
Correct.
It doesn't have multiple facts though, I don't think. Oh, well, but anyway.
That's fine. So this is all tables. So this is the model. This is the default that comes with Power BI. You can't remove this view. This is absolutely all your tables and how they relate. But you can see there's new layouts. If you just pick one fact table and bring it across, you can say, show me what's related to it.
Here's
and
my
then
GL, and then here's my date and
show
my
you
statement.
the relationships that
statement
already
doesn't work. Scenario. There we go.
Yep. So if you delete that relationship between scenario and general ledger on this view, it will delete it in the entire model. This is just a way of seeing a subsection of your model. This isn't a separate data model. This is just a way of viewing your main data model, your all tables data model, in a more modular way. So I'll have my all tables, which will have everything, but then I'll have a tab across the bottom for each fact table. And then I can look at, like I might look at an issues fact table and it tells me which ones. And then I get my bus matrix out and I go, oh, look, it's got all those dimensions that I have listed in my bus matrix. Awesome. Or if
Mhm.
I've got a relationship missing, I can compare my bus matrix to each layout.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the layout view. But just remember though, if you go like delete from model, that will delete it from everything. So you have to, there's a hide in report view here. Not say, or not hide in report view, sorry, remove from diagram. So yeah, even I get confused. There's three
Yeah.
things here. That one will delete it. That one will hide it in the report, and this is the one that'll just remove it from the diagram you're looking at right now. So that's the one you want if you just want to change your diagram.
Yeah. So that hasn't changed the underlying model. That's just changed
No.
this diagram.
So scenarios is still there. It hasn't been deleted, or whichever one it was. Anyway, awesome. Well, Kelly, can't thank you enough for joining us. Um, how can people connect with you? What have you got going on? You said you have an upcoming meetup.
We've got the upcoming meetup coming up in November, which at the moment is still going ahead. I just need to find a venue because Microsoft's getting renovated, but we'll sort something out.
Yeah.
So jump on Meetup. The other thing that's really, really helpful, Greg's posted my blog and things like that. My first name, surname is very unique. So if you go onto LinkedIn and you type my first name, surname, Kelly Brookstra, you will find me. Same on Twitter, same on any of the socials, basically. So I am quite easy to find in that respect. Otherwise, I'm generally floating around in Melbourne user groups or online on a lot of the different Australian user groups, or you can reach out to Lobsterpot if you want to talk to me for anything business related, consulting related. Happy to help in that space as well, without taking work away from Greg.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I got plenty. All right.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Kelly. That was awesome.
Oh,
Really
and I
useful
normally join
skills.
these calls on a Friday, so
Yeah, Kelly's usually here, so she just doesn't
okay.
turn her camera on. So,
Yeah,
feel free to
just
chat with
listen.
her when she's here.
And I have another blog post coming out the next week or so, which
All right,
talks
so
more
stay
about
tuned.
yeah.
Excellent. All right, thanks, Kelly. I appreciate it. Next week, folks, I'm going to have another one of these. We're a bit overdue for having the Melbourne in-person meetup. I'm still working. We're having venue issues as well because we're not using Cognizant anymore. I think I found a venue that we can use, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah. Anyway, let me work on that. But see you next week. I'm going to start working on some project reporting. So we got this. We've got a bit of we've got project assignments model worked out, so we can maybe start building that.
Do you
But yes,
literally just use me to do your work?
yeah. No, this is my lunch and
Fine.
learn work. Yes,
It's
yeah.
fine. It's all good.
That's right. I'll be like exclusive to Dear Watson Consulting, the project assignments ultimate data model, patent pending, copyright 2024. All right. Anyway, all good. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate your time. We'll see you soon. Thanks, folks. Great to see you all.